Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Ating tunghayan, pakinggan at tuklasin ang mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa mundo ng online. Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Alamin ang pinaka-latest trends mula sa trabaho at kung hanggang saan na ang narating ng teknolohiyang ito. At ngayon, narito na ang ating host, ang ating Techie Mommy, si J.C. Bautista.
Hello, good morning. Sorry, late po tayo kasi I've been having technical problems. Itong techie mommy na to ay nagiging ang techiness ko ay being put to a test. I had to restart my computer because for some reason ayaw mag-minimize yung mga windows, whatever it is, but okay. With the help of my techie-san, naayos ko rin. But anyway, magandang umaga po. Happy Monday to everyone. Beginning na naman ng, it's the start of a new week again. As the days are passing by, we are still, of course, trying to live in this new normal life of ours. Ngayon, half na naman ng May, right? Actually, malapit na naman, almost magsi 6 months na tayo through the year, but we are still trying to cope with this new normal life that we are having, okay? That actually, dapat na nating isipin na ito na talaga yung ating buhay for now, right? Siyempre, na-lift na yung pagka-ECQ, modified ECQ sa NCR+. Nung isang araw, bumaba yung mga number of infections, naging mga 5,000 plus, pero kahapon 6,000 plus na naman. Pero yun na nga, sana lang talaga, for us to have this herd community situation or bumuti ang ating situation, please talaga lang, let's try not to spread, talaganapin tong virus na to by limiting our mobility, right? Yun na nga, yung mga pumupunta naman sa resorts talaga, nagbabakasyon kasi napakainit. Dami-dami natin nakikitang mga Instagrammable or Facebook or whatever posts ng beach kasi nga open air yun. Oo nga, open air yun, but still, yung interaction yun sa mga tao doon when you eat in the restaurants and when you go to the public markets or stuff, yun pa rin ang magkakos ng virus. Yun na nga talaga eh. When we eat kasi, basta the minute we remove those masks, right, and we eat in public places or restaurants, there's always that risk of getting the virus, right? Yun nga, yung ang daming ang mga na-infect nowadays, hindi nila alam kung saan nila nakuha, especially those who have been staying home, right? Yun lang, nalaman natin na nakukuha nila yun sa mga, for example, kasambahay na namamalengke o lumalabas. Yun talaga eh, pag the minute na lumabas ka ng bahay mo or nasa labas ka talaga, you can actually just catch the virus from anything, from anywhere. Di natin alam kasi invisible enemy nga, right? But anyway, welcome to the show, whoever's watching that I can't see the names. Magandang umaga, happy Monday, everyone. And the weekend was a little bit busy for me dahil inayos-ayos namin itong aming bahay. At finally, nakabit na yung aircon ko dito sa sala. And tsaka inayos ko yung aking mga projects that are lined up for this year pa. The first quarter is tapos na. But I have a lot of promising things to do as far as my online work and negosyo is concerned. And speaking of jobs, right, we want to discuss, kung paano talaga naapektuhan tayo, right? How we are affected by this pandemic sa trabaho at ating sa kabuhayan. Just some insights or some overview. Yung pandemic effect on economy continues, pero tayo mga Pinoy, di ba? Resilient tayo eh. We are coping, right? We are coping. Narinig niyo ba ako? I hope so, right? I hope you guys can hear me. Yes, we are coping. Sa Philippine News Agency, right? Sabi nila, the coronavirus, of course, alam na natin, of course, that it has affected lots of economies worldwide for 1 year now, right? And the Philippines, syempre, we're not an exception. Alam na natin to. We are already experiencing it, right? As we live every day. Still, the unemployment rate in the country was at 91.2% in February, last February. This is according to the latest Philippine Statistics Authority report. Equivalently, there were 43.2 million Filipinos who had job or business out of the 47.3 million Filipinos who were in the labor force, right? In January this year and October 2020, the data was 91.3%. Sabi ng National Statistician and Civil Registrar General Undersecretary Dennis Mapa, sinabi niya, itong kanya sinabi, right? Yung unemployment rate slightly increased to 8.8% last February compared to 8.7% in January na increase ng 1%. The highest unemployment rate since the pandemic was declared in March of last year. It was 17.6% in April of last year. The number of unemployed Filipinos 15 years old and over also increased to 4.2 million noong last February 2021, about 234,000 higher than the reported 4 million noong January nitong taon na to. Sabi ng PSA, ang report nila showed that of the employed persons noong February, there were 7.9 million categorized as underemployed, or those who expressed their desires to have additional hours of work in their present jobs, humingi ng extra time or overtime para or madami ang naghanap ng additional jobs, or to actually have new jobs with longer hours of work. Kasi nga, di ba, marami rin ng work from home, marami kang oras na pwedeng i-google magtrabaho kasi nasa bahay ka lang. This was higher than the reported 6.6 million underemployed Filipinos noong January ng taon na ito, right? In terms of proportion, ang underemployment rate nitong last February was estimated at 18.2%, higher than nung January, which was 16%. Noong October 2020, it was 14.4%. And July, nung taon na yon, it was 17.3%. So bumaba noong October last year, right? Among underemployed persons, dun sa mga underemployed people, 12.5% percentage points were visibly underemployed or employed persons who work less than 40 hours a week. Tapos nangailangan sila ng additional hours para magtrabaho, para additional income. On the other hand, 5.7% were invisibly underemployed or employed persons who work more than 40 hours in a week and who still wanted additional hours of work. Sabi ni Mapa, another enhanced community, another ECQ this month would take a toll on Filipinos, right? Kaya nga, masaya, at least masaya tayo na tinanggal na yung nilift na ECQ. MECQ nga. The labor force kasi went down and unemployment went up. The country's economic managers, however, said the data of 43.2 million employed is higher than the record in January of last year. Although they recognize that the week-long, mga week-long or 2 weeks or whatever ECQs is a setback. Kasi pag nire-impose yung ECQ, talaga namang nababawasan ng productivity, right? So, ayun, right? Last month, okay, there was an ADB nag-conduct ng survey at research. Sinabi nila, there was an article that came out sa Business Mirror last month saying that the pandemic's long-term jobs damage is flagged. Okay? Nakikita natin na marami pa ring unemployment mangyayari. But at the same time, di ba, hopeful tayo kasi marami ring bagong trabahong nag-come about or opportunities. Yun ang nga sabi dito sa Business Mirror, the magnitude of the shock brought by the pandemic on the Philippine economy may lead daw to hysteresis, characterized by long-term adverse effects on formal employment in the country. So according to ADB or Asian Development Bank, in its Asian Development Outlook 2021, ADB downgraded its forecast for Philippine GDP to a floor of 4.5% this year, significantly lower than the 6.5% it's projected for 2021 last year. Sabi ng ADB, in 2022, the economy is forecasted to grow by 5.5%. Prior to the pandemic, diba, the last time the economy posted a growth of below 6% was in 2011, when our GDP growth averaged 3.9% lamang. The ADB projections are also below government's growth expectations. Sabi ng ADB, what we're concerned about is this pandemic could have a much long-lasting negative impact, particularly on formal employment. Sabi ito ng Country Director Kelly Bird. Okay? Sinabi niya, formal employment consists of, anong formal employment? More regular employment that offers higher salaries, di ba? Mga workers in formal employment have access to skills training, etc. They, with the formal sector jobs, are the desirable quality jobs. So we are concerned about a shift in the composition of jobs in the medium term. Okay? The report ng ADB noted that 1.7 million wage and salary jobs in private establishments and government were wiped out in the 12 months, okay, up to January of this year. Sinabi ni Bird that based on the latest data, some 435,000 Filipinos shifted to informal jobs from formal employment due to the lockdowns. Totoo naman. Maraming nag-freelance or marami ring nawala ng trabaho, then of course, shifted to freelancing as opposed to formal job. Sabi ni Bird ng ADB that while there was a strong rebound in employment after the ECQ or Enhanced Community Quarantine was lifted, employment data has not recovered to 2019 levels, like the normal. Further, working hours, di ba? Ang working hours din, nag-decline to 39.3 hours per week from 41.3 hours per week. Mahilig mang overtime ang Pinoy di ba? This, Bird said, eventually led to compressed earnings in the informal sector. See, bumaba yung hours na people spend working. Job losses can lead to hysteresis, ano man yung accent na yan, through skill erosion. O yun na nga, nababawasan ng skill sets. The lockdowns disrupted, unang-una na, schooling, diba, na naapektuhan ng pag-aaral, on-the-job training, ayan, yung mga OJT, and caused longer periods of unemployment for job seekers, which leads to lost skills. Ang mga workers, they became less employable, and it lowered the potential supply of workers for the economy, diba? Ano pang nangyari? Changing the nature of work. Okay, sabi ni Bird ng ADP, there was massive sectoral employment reallocation to sectors that were not heavily dependent on personal contact during the lockdown. Okay, jobs linked to information and communication saw the highest increase in employment, followed by administration support, services, agriculture, and construction. Yan na nga, yung mga IT jobs, teaching online jobs, writing jobs, yan ang dumami nitong pandemic, right? That's why yung mga nawalan man ng trabaho sa normal or formal employment and skilled ka in those aspects, they found ways and means to get a new job or get more jobs. Like I always say, in my case, right, things that I do are all virtual nowadays. I have actually more work now than I can handle compared to just before the pandemic, months before the pandemic. Okay, I have new projects on the offing virtually, which entails me to work not just from the Philippines but anywhere in the world as long as may internet nga at mayroon akong online capability. Itong pandemya na to nga has brought about new opportunities. I've lost old clients, I've lost old projects due to the pandemic, but have a lot of new projects to look forward to in this pandemic. Sabi ng ADB, there was a decline in the jobs linked to, ayan na nga, as much as nagkaroon ng highest increase in employment dun sa administrative support, IT, services, agriculture, and construction, there was a decline in jobs linked to services, public administration, other industries, transport and storage, manufacturing, and the steepest decline is accommodation. Yun na nga, yung mga hotel and mga resorts, right? Bumaba. Tsaka yung travel industry, yan, ang bumaba ang employment dyan, right? Pati yung transport and storage. Kaya nga, yung mga, even if yung mga essentials, like yung mga groceries bukas, yung suppliers nila, sometimes, di ba, pupunta tayo sa grocery, kulang-kulang kasi nga yung suppliers na maraming mga nagsarado or nagwala ng trabaho. That's why minsan hindi kompleto ang mga inventaryo sa mga groceries, right? Yung mga dati natin binibiling produkto, nawawala. Wala. Okay? With this massive sectoral reallocation, di ba? Sabi ng ADB na si Bird, they expected to see, therefore, in the medium term, an increase in skills mismatches, mga maling skills in the labor market as workers do not transition easily between sectors because of differences in skills and experiences. So we might expect to see lower rates of employment and higher rates of unemployment, sabi ni Bird. Kaya nga, that's why nga, di ba, kagaya ng mga tinuro natin or pinag-usapan natin in the past weeks or past episodes, that's why we have to equip ourselves, learn new skills in this pandemic para umabot yan sa skill set na kailangan ng mga employers, right? That's why there are a lot of opportunities online because to learn, there are trainings to be had. Ang dami ngayon dyan tutorials or even mga courses na pwedeng aralin online to equip yourself and to augment your current skills. The pandemic, sabi ni Bird, will have a significant impact on the nature of work because of digital transformation, remote or work from home arrangements, and accelerate automation. Yun na nga. That's why arm yourself, right? This is the way, this is the time talaga that people are learning new skills, people are discovering that they can do other things, right? Regardless of age to, habang meron kang willingness na matuto. I feel, of course, that there's always hope to be able to get jobs online pa rin, okay? Yun nga lang, online talaga is the way to go, all right? He said this would require workers to have higher skills, particularly in information and communication. Ayun na nga yung pinag-usapan ko. The automation will significantly affect jobs in the manufacturing and services sectors. Yun nga rin pinag-usapan din natin doon yung kahapon, yung the week-long series of AI. Incorporated talaga, technology lang talaga ang main link dito sa pagtatrabaho at sa ating kabuhayan, right? Nowadays, in this pandemic. Sabi ni Bird, we know automation has been a long-term trend, but this pandemic may also accelerate efforts to automate. Yun na nga yung sinabi ko the past week, yung AI, technology. It could also accelerate the consolidation of regional production hubs as well, okay? In order to cope with the changes, some best practices recommended by the Asian Development Bank include, okay, targeted wage subsidies, hiring subsidies, and social employment insurance, okay? Pag-usapan natin, ano yung targeted wage subsidies? Sabi ni Bird, he explained that it keeps employees connected to employers during recessions and the early stages of recovery, okay? Such subsidies, Bird said, were successful in the Philippines. Ano yung mga ayudang binigay nung beginning. These wage subsidies could later on be transformed into hiring subsidies that will encourage firms to hire more workers and allow them to transition to new employment. Di ba? Maganda namang balita yun. Ano naman yung social employment insurance, Bird said, will provide workers with income stability during shocks. Ang Malaysia, for one, okay, has adopted a national pooled insurance model, while Chile adopted an individual savings account and a solidarity fund. Oh my God, tayo kaya ano? Ano kayang i-adopt ng Philippines? Well, ang ADB, siya ba ang magbibigay ng insurance? The ADP executive Bird also said these best practices can be complemented by enterprise-led training systems, which will help workers access reskilling opportunities during a transition. Well, that's pretty good if employers are going to be able to do that and try to help their current employees to acquire new skills that will help them transition from the old normal to the existing normal, right? This can be provided through match grants to a network of firms for short-term skills training or reforms to industry-led apprenticeship schemes. Mabuti naman ang ADB kung ganyan. No? Sana rin yung mga big corporations like Ayala or yung sila Razon na may mga maraming kumpanya, right? Or yan sila Henry C. Mga big companies, San Miguel, right? They should also look into that. Short-term skills training, all right? Sufficient reallocation of resources across sectors, support workers and firms that are impacted by the transition, and reforms to boost productivity, growth, and investment. Yun ang importante, no? Sabi ng ADB, ang growth ng ating industry or employment or economy itong taon na to, tsaka to 2022, data showed ADB projects inflation to average 4.1% this year and 3.5% next year. Okay? Ano ba itong aking... wala pa to. Right? Well, the breakdown is that 35% are looking to increase their number of employees and 45% are planning to maintain the status quo this year. Even 33% of industrial and manufacturing companies in the Philippines expect headcount to increase by 15% on average this year. Okay? Siyempre, this is all excellent news and we certainly hope that it holds true, right? Obviously, adjusting to current conditions, the sector with the highest hiring activity, of course, is e-commerce. This is followed by financial services, healthcare, tech and telecoms, and fast-moving consumer goods. Yan na nga yan. Nakita naman natin, nagproliferate yan, alright? So, yan ang ating hope for sa employment at businesses or kabuhayan, right? We want to see an increase at least 50% on average this year. Okay, and of course, those are the fields na kakakitaan natin ng growth and development is of course e-commerce, followed by financial services. Talagang yung financial services, no? Healthcare, tech and telecoms, and fast-moving consumer goods. All right? Okay. So yan, right? Okay, so going back to what I was saying, all right? Sabi ng ADB, right? It projects inflation to average 4.1% this year and 3.5% next year. The new 2021 forecast is higher than the bank's estimate of 2.6% made last year. Merchandise exports are expected to post a growth of 6.6% this year and 10.2% in 2022. Okay, we are hopeful for these. Imports are projected to grow 9.6% this year and 12.5% next year. Ano naman, ang trade deficit, the country's trade deficit is expected to reach, oh my goodness, 36.35 billion this year before widening to 42.3 billion next year. Oh my goodness. Sabi pa ng ADB, economic growth drivers for this year and next year include the government's infrastructure spending and social assistance, the implementation of COVID-19 vaccine, and the recovery of the global economy. So yeah, yan ang of course ang mga pinakamalaking spending na kinikinitan natin sa taon na ito and the next year to come. Public investment will drive domestic investment. Roads, bridges, expressways, ports, and railways are among the major infrastructure projects na papatuloy-tuloy this year, tsaka next year. At syempre pa, hindi natin maiiwasan na sabihin na election-related spending ahead of the national elections in May next year will provide a modest lift to aggregate demand. However, ADB noted na ang Philippine economy's recovery will be fragile due to uncertainties linked to the rising COVID-19 infections. Yun na nga, yung mga unforeseen gastos at foreseen gastuses pa na we will have to acquire because of COVID-19 surge. The increase in infections prompted the government kasi to impose strict community quarantine in late March of this year for 2 weeks in Metro Manila and some neighboring, yun na nga, NCR Plus. And syempre, naka-apektuhan na naman ng economy dahil yung mga trabaho na-apektuhan na naman. Yung mobility na-apektuhan na naman, yung pag-deliver ng mga goods and services. While mobility restrictions are gradually being lifted, this has brought uncertainties that continue to dampen the confidence of household and businesses. Yun na nga talaga. Urong-sulong ang mga nag-umpisa ng negosyo kasi nga, lifting tapos semi-lockdown ulit. Lockdown, restrictions ulit. So, hindi alam ng mga negosyo kung uurong ba sila or susulong or magbubukas, sara, bukas, sara. Right? Yun na nga rin, sariling my husband's food business. Urong-sulong kami kasi nga because of the uncertainty, right? Domestically, the vaccine rollout may suffer supply delays as wealthy nations have stockpiled vaccines and community. Yun na nga talaga. Nagtalo tayo doon sa maraming pera pambili ng vaccine. At saka nag-hoard yung mga iba, right? Community quarantines could be prolonged to curb the spread of COVID-19. Yun na nga yun. Kung dumaano na naman yung pag-traveler ka, tumatagal na naman yung pag-quarantine, tsaka gastos, lumalaki. Yun na nga, nowadays, you can travel, you can go places, but it will cost you a lot because unang-una, mahal na ticket dahil kailangan mo i-fill out yung kulang sa aeroplano ng mga tao. So, doble halos yung ticket. Tapos yun pa, yung magka-quarantine ka to stay in a hotel or somewhere, gastos mo kung turista ka or balikbayan. Hindi kagaya ng mga OFW, some of the quarantine time is subsidized by their agencies or their companies, right? Pero kung normal na tao, yun na nga, yung yaya ko, namin hindi makauwi-uwi sa kanyang probinsya, sa summer because magka-quarantine pa ng ilang days. Magka-quarantine ka na dito, mag-swab test, pagdating mo sa probinsya, quarantine ka pa rin. At gastos mo, di ba? So, yun ang mahirap dyan. Another major downside risk is the disruption of government programs with the 2022 implementation of the Mandanas ruling, which increased internal revenue allotments to local government units. Sabi ng ADB, some functions of the national government will be devolved, including local infrastructure projects na apektuhan. Kagaya ng pagtatayo ng mga bagong school buildings, at saka mga social protection programs. The transition, sabi ng ADB, could disrupt government programs. Transition plans being prepared by the government would be crucial to facilitate the devolution and delineation of functions. Diba? Ayan talaga. Okay? Ang author nitong binabasa kong Business Mirror article ay si Kai Ordinario. A professional journalist for over a decade. Nagsulat nitong article na pinagbabasihan ko ng information. Alright? Nakakaano talaga dyan, okay? So, Paano yan? Sabi rin, no? Sinabi rin, okay. And now, based naman on an article sa Philippine Labor, sa Rappler, sorry. Sabi ng Rappler, there's a rise of low-quality jobs that reflects pandemic source in the Philippine labor market. Low-quality jobs. So, the government says there are now more Filipinos with jobs amid the pandemic, yan sabi ng gobyerno. But these people are self-employed and in the informal sector. Totoo naman yan talaga. Like, nung pinag-usapan natin the past episodes or past topics, maraming trabahong bago or negosyo nag-umpisa dito sa pandemic at marami ding trabahong na-imbento or nangyari dahil sa pandemic na ito. And these are people who are, sabihin mo ng underemployed sila because they're not really putting in like 40 hours a week. But because of the abilidad ng Pinoy, no, nakahanap naman tayo ng paraan para makakreate ng trabaho or negosyo. Most of the people are freelancers, dumami at or tsaka self-employed. Sabi ni President Duterte nung last month, economic team has asserted on several occasions that jobs have returned to pre-pandemic levels. Hindi, I don't believe it. No. Kasi as of February 2021, overall employment stood at 43.2 million, translating to 1.9 million more Filipinos with jobs compared to January. I guess what is true is dumami yung mga freelancers, dumami yung wala sa formal employment nitong past year, especially middle to latter part of the year, right? Kasi nga, ang daming nagpa-work from home at hindi lang yon, madaming nawala ng trabaho and they are forced to work from home. At saka even if yung mga regular empleyado na work from home, because nga sa bahay na sila nagtatrabaho, in between the regular time, ito yung sinabi ko kanina, nagkaroon pa sila ng window to add more work sa kanilang existing work dahil sa kanilang extra time online that they have because they're home. Na isisingit nilang magkaroon ng another job or an extra income by doing online selling, di ba? Because they're online, they have had opportunities were created for people to have more working hours or more opportunities to get work or do business, di ba? Online, right? So, yun na nga, sabi na, this means we have surpassed our pre-pandemic employment level of 42.6 million in January last year. Sabi to ng mga economic managers, mas dumami daw yung nagtrabaho. But, not regular jobs. Pero sabi nga dito ng Rappler, these are like low-quality jobs. Pero hindi naman natin masasabing low-quality jobs yung pagtuturo online because not for anything. Teaching online is pretty lucrative, especially for those companies na nagbabayad in dollars at saka nagbabayad ng hindi cheap na labor, right? An average online teacher can earn between 20 to up to 50,000 pesos a month, which is actually a high salary na ng mga nagtatrabaho sa call center ng full-time, di ba? Or managerial position sa kumpanya on a regular job. So, hindi naman low quality jobs lang ang nahanap nitong pandemya talaga. In a media briefing last April, Asian Development Bank, ito naman country director na site ulit, Kelly Bird, emphasized that some of the jobs that were being taken online are low quality. Kasi daw, there are now more self-employed individuals and people in the informal sector, and this type of employment is deemed to be less stable. Oo, sabihin na natin less stable, but of course, it is those jobs, those freelance jobs and self-employed jobs that have allowed a lot of people to thrive and survive in this pandemic, okay? The concern for us is that the employment that's being generated is in the informal sector. It's those who are working self-employed. Talaga naman kasi yan ang nangyari nga kasi dahil nawala ng trabaho. Syempre, humanap ng paraan, nag-self-employed, nag-freelance. Sabi ng tong ADB, these are generally the less stable employment activities. Oo nga. But then the thing is nga, we had to cope with what we had, right? Or what we have, okay? Not for anything, I've been freelancing and self-employment for more than 15 years, okay? And it's proven to be lucrative. Of course, it has to be the continuous search for projects and jobs to do. But then, okay, meron akong iba dyan na stable that I've had for years already na I have a stipend or salary that's like stable for months. So there is a possibility to have income stability in freelancing jobs. Okay? So, itong sinasabi nilang their income, kasi gusto na yung formal jobs na opening na mag-work ka 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, 8 to 4, tapos may benefits. Yun. Those are the formal jobs. So, yun nga lang, freelancing at saka self-employment, wala kang benefits. Ikaw ang bibili ng insurance mo. Kung kumikita ka ng malaki, bilan mo yung sarili mo na insurance, right? So, while there are more Filipinos who report that they had a job last February, unemployment still rose to 8.8 from 8.7 in January this year. Oo nga. This is due to the increase in labor force participation, which went up from 45.2 million people in January to 47.3 million in February this year. The labor force includes individuals who are either employed or unemployed. Ito na naman yung hysteresis na sinasabi. In a report published by ADB, the Philippines risks falling into a phenomenon called hysteresis, where unemployment continues to rise even after the economy has started to grow again. Yun na nga yung hysteresis. Ulit, sabi ng ADB that hysteresis can indicate a permanent change in the workforce from the loss of job skills making workers less employable even after a recession has ended. Yan nga yung nega doon. Pero di ba, binigay naman natin yung positivity doon. We use this pandemic situation and being online and being self-employed and being freelancer to apart sa ating oras ang pag-aaral at pag-i-equip sa ating sarili so to become more skilled. Because actually, ninenix ko naman tong mindset na to because, diba sinasabi ko nga, this pandemic situation has actually afforded a lot of opportunities for people to learn, for people to better equip themselves and be more skilled, to learn new skills and to acquire new skills to help you get better jobs too. Na in the long run, also is dun sa formal employment. Okay? Sabi naman ng Rappler, ang solution daw, government can build on existing projects and institutions to bring back quality jobs. He noted that itong si Bird ng ADP noted that wage subsidies for target sectors and skills training would help workers transition to newly available jobs due to the pandemic. Yan na nga, kung di sila tutulungan o mag-train ng kanilang existing jobs, itong mga nawala ng trabaho at nagiging freelancers should equip themselves and get the training that they can get online, which is available nowadays. Okay? So, we should receive skill sets that we can acquire on our own, di ba? Kung self-study ka, self-teach, right? Okay? So, yan ang ating pinag-usapan nowadays is how employment is in this pandemic and what we foresee is the job market or being employed. Okay? Tomorrow we will discuss, more on unemployment, more on jobs in the Philippines in this pandemic, or how we can get jobs, okay, or what jobs we can do again, because ang dami-dami nagtatanong yan, kahit paulit-ulit natin pag-usapan, right? We just have to know that, there is, of course, a light at the end of the tunnel. There's at the end of the rainbow, okay? Maraming pag-asang dapat makuha from knowing na because nga we're online. Let's use this to our advantage, okay? Tapos ano pa yon? Because of this pandemic situation, ang mga tao nag-iinteresado, right? Sa insurance, diba? Tomorrow we will talk about high-paying remote and home-based online jobs for Filipinos. Diba gusto niya yan kasi palagi tinatanong yung tungkol dyan, right? And ang ending ko lang, just on a note. So CNN, meron nagsabi na more Filipinos are interested in insurance, retirement planning, and a year A year after into this pandemic situation, marami nagka-interest sa retirement, tsaka insurance, me included. Okay? The lingering coronavirus pandemic has made Filipinos more forward-looking, totoo naman, and has driven them to set their sights on long-term preparations such as insurance and retirement planning. Sabi ito ng recent study na ginawa ng Manulife. The latest Manulife Asia Care Survey polled around 4,000 people across the Asian region. About 550 hailed from the Philippines. Of this number, 90% ng Filipinos found retirement planning to have become more important since the health crisis began. Above the region's 73% average, the company said the Philippine average reflects its residents heightened their interest and focus on achieving financial security amid the uncertainty resulting from this pandemic. In-identify nila yung needs ng Filipinos kasi it has changed. They definitely accelerated and look much more towards retirement, diba? As they recognize that they don't have sufficient retirement planning in place. Sabi ito ng Manulife President and Chief Executive Officer Richard Bass. Sinabi niya nung in-interview siya sa CNN Philippines. Given the heightened uncertainty amid COVID-19, Bates noted that it's essential that long-term planning products allow individuals to be flexible in mapping out their lives and planning out their lives. It will enable them to effectively shape the services to cater their individual needs. So kaya nga naging importante itong pandemic na to. Naisip natin tungkol sa mga retirement natin, kung tayo may mga yung pensyon na makukuha, ako na may dual citizenship, yung aking ding pensyon na makukuha sa America, of course, bilang makakatulong dito sa pamilya ko sa Pilipinas, right? The main things for sure, they're looking for a policy that has the highest degree of flexibility, right? So yan lang, ang ending ko is yung ang mga Pilipinas ay naging interesado sa insurance at sa kanilang retirement, right? So tomorrow, more on jobs that people are trying to do and have in this pandemic. And of course, we will talk more about how the pandemic effect on economy is and how we are coping and striving through it. So, pasensya na at late ako today. Bukas papakita ko pa rin yung mga more information, more data, and more analysis at the same time, more hope to give you, because as I said, kahit tina-term ng ADB na low quality jobs, I don't think it's low quality jobs to be an online coach, to be an online trainer, to be an online speaker. Actually, the formal jobs have migrated to being online jobs, whether it's freelancing or consultancies, right? Or self-employment, di ba? Job pa rin yun na mahusay, hindi ito low quality, because right now, right, it's become very lucrative to be an online trainer, and you can even name your price kung ano ka, skilled worker at very experienced. So thank you so much for joining me today. Please keep on rocking in this and thriving in this pandemic. Please keep the faith, hope, and love alive in your hearts. At sorry ulit, late ako today, but maraming salamat, Lord, at nakapag-broadcast pa rin tayo. Thank you so much for joining me, and tomorrow ulit, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, dito sa Buhay Online, broad streamcast Communicators. Thank you so much for providing this venue for us to give information and help our kababayans here and abroad and all over the world. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow, okay? Maraming salamat. And hello, thank you my son for helping. Thank you my husband Jenny for preparing our lunch today, okay? Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless. Faith, hope, and love. This has been Jay Bautista for Buhay Online.
Inyong natunghayan at napakinggan ang mga makabagong pamamaraan sa mundo ng online sa pamamagitan pa rin ng Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat po.
I'm So sorry, na-late ako and I didn't see the people that are watching. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.